your nephew, Gabriel, were outside playing. When he gets older, of course, he can't really run or crawl or do anything. But if he were going to run out in front of a car, I would do anything and everything I could to rescue him. Even if it meant that I had to hurt him to do it. Even if it meant that I had to grab his arm and yank him back and throw him away from that car. Even if it meant that he would break something, or he would get a bruise, or that he would get a scrape, or that his arm would be injured. It wouldn't matter, because I would save him from greater pain. Ladies, God is trying to keep you from greater pain. You can't see the whole picture. He can. You've got to trust him. And sometimes he has to allow us to be broken, because greater healing is there for us. But ladies, instead of letting God break something in us in order to heal it, we walk around with crooked fingers, with crooked legs, and we just say, oh, this is just the journey that God has for me, and oh, life is so hard and difficult, and oh, things aren't turning out the way that I thought they would. And God is saying, stop. Be still. And know I am God. I used to daydream about dying for Jesus. I used to daydream a lot about getting captured by, rebels or whatever, and anti-Christian rebels, and they would take me in this room, right? And they were going to hold a gun to my head, and they would look at me and they would say, do you follow Jesus? And I would, with boldness and courage, say, yes. Boom. And I would die for Jesus. Sometimes, in my daydreaming, the gun would explode back at their face. But other times, in that moment, I was dying for Jesus. But then as I was driving to church last week, God brought something to mind. As I was thinking about how I used to daydream often about dying for Jesus, all of a sudden the scene was different. And I was standing with a gun, pointing it at myself. That angry, bitter, controlling, critical woman had a gun. And she was pointing it at me. And she said, Heather, are you really going to die? Because you're having a hard time dying to me. Would you really die for Jesus physically? If you won't die to the old person who you used to be. I know who you used to be. But I know that God doesn't want you to stay there anymore. And ladies, that's a daily thing. Jesus says, if any man or woman should come after me, he must first deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Jesus said that to his disciples on his way to die. We all want to stand with Jesus on the mountaintop, but we have to first remember that before Jesus ascended to heaven, he also went to the cross to suffer and die. So if you and I want to go with Jesus on the mountaintop, we've got to first go with him to the cross of suffering, of daily dying to ourselves. That old woman who says, are you really going to die? Are you going to live for me?